Battle through the firmament. Great world. Chapter 394 Duan Hao. There's still some time before the 4 Academies competition arrives. After we get out of here, let's familiarize ourselves with our strength. It's time to settle the score with the Star Sky Academy. After saying that, Xiaoyan gently furrowed his brows. He was about to communicate with the blood source seed in his mind. You can use the dragon's soul bone to get out of here. Seeing Xiaoyan's actions, Xiaoao asked curiously. It should be possible, but I have a feeling that the guy from the Wuyan bloodline knows something. Out directly this time, it wouldn't be so easy to get through him once. Xiaoyan nodded and said in a deep voice. Currently, he was still somewhat afraid of the existence of the blood eye. Xiaoao nodded its head after hearing what Xiaoyan said. Without saying anything else, it turned into a purple golden flame and entered Xiaoyan's body. Xiaoyan had successfully refining Monic High Tianyan. He still needed to go in and familiarize himself with this Monic flame so that he could control it well in future battles. It's done. Xiaoyan's mind had just connected with the blood source seed when a slightly surprised voice sounded in his mind. Clearly, he had also sensed that Xiaoyan was different from the previous changes. After pausing for a moment, this voice was wild with joy as it spoke. Little fellow, you have become a Monic Emperor. Before Xiaoyan could reply, the blood essence seed had already been poured into the voice with wild joy. Not bad, not bad. It wasn't in vain that I spent so much effort to become a Monic Emperor. It's only a matter of time before I break through to the Emperor cultivation. When he heard the joyful voice coming from the blood source seed, Xiaoyan said without batting an eyelid. Senior, you flatter me. I'm going out now. I hope Senior can help me. Sure, sure. When he heard Xiaoyan's request, his voice did not hesitate for a moment. After a pause, he smiled and said, there is still a little guy training here. To be safe, I will directly send you out of the Shaman Yin Meridian. Someone is cultivating. Xiaoyan was stunned for a moment, then he immediately reacted. Without much hesitation, he said, no need, it's in the Wu Yin Meridian. Whatever. The voice from the blood eye sounded indifferent. He was very concerned about Xiaoyan's emotions right now. If the guy who was cultivating outside saw what he shouldn't have seen, it would be very easy for him to get rid of it. Swoosh! An irresistible force came from nowhere. Xiaoyan disappeared into the mysterious space without any resistance. It was as if nothing had happened, and the place returned to its usual deathly silence. When Xiaoyan appeared out of thin air in the central plain of the valley, through the thick black fog, he saw a young man wearing a silver robe sitting cross-legged not far away. Facing the sea of blood, the young man had his back to Xiaoyan. Xiaoyan wasn't able to see the young man's face clearly. The moment he appeared, the crimson gold flame wrapped around Xiaoyan's body, and then his body moved. He had already hid in the depths of the black fog, causing the young man to be unable to detect him at all. How long has this guy been here? The Monic flame in his eyes flickered as he looked through the layers of black fog at the motionless young man. Xiaoyan asked in his heart. I don't know. This kind of small character doesn't have any special power. Why would I care about him? The voice of the blood eye echoed in his mind, and his tone was filled with disdain. Ever since Xiaoyan had entered that mysterious space, although the 5 elements origin seizing formation had extracted his origin key to create a monster, his strength had become extremely weak, and he was no longer a threat to the young man in the silver robe in the distance. Xiaoyan's eyes sparkled, and his heart suddenly moved. He said in a soft voice, Senior, please wake him up. I have something to ask him. You're ordering me around. Hearing this, the blood eye was dissatisfied and said in a cold voice. Forget it if you're not willing to. I was planning to ask you something, and it might even increase my strength. Xiaoyan shrugged his shoulders and said indifferently. After listening to Xiaoyan's words, a cold snort came from the blood eye. Without saying anything else, in the next moment, The blood sea in the middle of the plain suddenly rose and condensed into a huge blood eye in the sky. As the blood and ki filled the air, the silver-robed youth was instantly awakened. Chill. The young man retreated rapidly. The movement of his body was like that of a shadow, causing Xiaoyan to be startled. Both of them were slightly startled. This speed seemed to be on par with Lin Dao's speed back then. The young man lifted his head after he withdrew to the edge of the canyon tunnel. His expression was grave as he looked at the blood eye in the distant sky. The origin ki around his body surged. He was prepared to unleash a thunderous attack at any time. The young man had a handsome face and his black hair was thick. His hair was spread wide, revealing a conspicuous scar on his forehead. In his eyes, there was an undispersed chill. Xiaoyan took a deep breath. The origin ki's voice was mixed with a strange tone as it spoke. "Who are you? How dare you barge into my forbidden land?" The young man was startled when he heard the strange voice coming from the blood eye. Then, his brows twitched. He cupped his fists and said respectfully, "I'm Shang Hao of Star Sky Academy. I don't know if Senior is cultivating here. If you have offended me, I will leave immediately." After saying that, he turned around and was about to leave. Xiaoyan was delighted when he saw this. He immediately said, "Impudent. This is a place where you can come and go as you please." The young man's face darkened after he turned around. He took a deep breath, turned around, and said with a smile, "Senior, please forgive my rudeness. Besides, with my abilities, I am far from qualified to disturb you." Seeing the young man being stopped, Xiaoyan didn't dawdle any longer. He pretended to snort coldly and said in a deep voice, "You said your name is Shang Hao, but you are from the Shang clan." Shang Hao was startled when he heard this. He nodded and said, "That's right. Does Senior know about the Shang clan?" Of course, he didn't know much about the Shang clan, but given the current situation, he could only make things up. "I do know some things. Before I fell, I heard that there are some extremely talented juniors in this clan. I know that the Shang clan will definitely prosper in the future." "How is it now?" Shang Hao felt a little joy in his heart when he heard the mysterious expert praise the Shang clan. He hurriedly said, "I would like to borrow Senior's auspicious words. My Shang clan is currently one of the 4 great families in the star domain. We can be considered a giant in the entire large world. Not bad, not bad. I never thought that the Shang clan would have such a talented junior like you." Xiaoyan could only follow along and pretend to be deep in thought. "Senior, you are flattering me. How could I dare to bear the word talent? I have a younger brother, Shang Shaoshan, who is the true genius of our clan." Pausing for a moment, a respectful expression emerged on Shang Hao's face. "The son of the current patriarch, who is also my elder brother, is called Shang Yu. He is truly talented, and his physique is known as the tyrannical Heavenly King physique. Currently, his name has shaken the entire battle domain." Speaking of this brother of his, whether it was his expression or his tone, they all contained a strong sense of respect. Tyrant Heavenly King physique. How is this possible? Before Xiaoyan could say anything, Xiaoao in his body had already cried out in shock. It was obvious that it had received a huge shock. Not bad, not bad. The Shang clan really has a genius in their generation. After a few words of agreement, Xiaoyan's mind hurriedly entered his body. When he saw Xiaoao's frightened expression, his face was filled with disbelief. "What's wrong? What is the Tyrant Heavenly King physique?" Xiaoyan's heart skipped a beat and he hurriedly asked. Xiaoao's lips trembled slightly, but he did not answer Xiaoyan's question directly. He suddenly asked, "What do you think about Zhu Tianho's sacred spirit fire body?" When Xiaoyan heard this, he did not hesitate and said, "It's very strong. If Zhu Tianho can cultivate it to the large success stage, he will definitely become a giant." When he said this, Xiaoyan's expression was solemn, without the slightest bit of exaggeration. "Then let me tell you, the Saint Soul Fire physique is nothing compared to the Tyrant Heavenly King physique. The Tyrant Heavenly King physique is one of the 3 great war physiques of the divine ancient realm, one of the most powerful physiques in the great world. However, I have never heard of the remaining 2 war physiques in my memory. Thus, it is not an exaggeration to say that the Tyrant Heavenly King physique is the strongest physique in the great world. Chapter end. Please guys like, comment, share, and subscribe.